First off, Dr. Joy, thank you so much for being on this show. And I'm really excited because I've known Skinny for years now. And we just talked before this started all about our history. And we'll probably get into it a little bit more throughout the show. But, I've known Skinny as a high quality product that was introduced to our practice many, many years ago. But I never really got the full story. I knew about your son's
Yes.
involvement in it. I read it somewhere, but can you tell your side of the story of how did this all start? How did you get into coconut oil?
Well, it's interesting. My son, he played football in college. And then after I have 5 kids, so he was my oldest son, and his sister had gone to law school, done everything just right, just exactly like she should have gone to college, gone to law school. Everything was good. My oldest son came to me after he graduated from college, and he said, Mom, he was always a little entrepreneur. He had a little book business. He'd made $12,000 in college. And he said, I've got $12,000, Mom. I'm going to take this $12,000. I'm going to put my MBA on hold. He was supposed to go get his MBA. And he said, I'm going to put it on hold for a year and I'm going to travel. I've got this, my one time to do it. I've got $12,000. Once my money's up, I'm going to come home.
I love it.
Well, I thought the world had come to, and think about it now. Now, it's my fifth one. If he would have said, hey, Mom, I'm going to come join the circus, I would have gone, okay, whatever, it works out. But at that one, I mean, I was just devastated. I thought he's ruined his life, whatever. So he left and he ended up in Southeast Asia. And long story, it was just a cheaper place. His $12,000, he started with some friends in New Zealand and realized his money was going to run out in about, a month. So he left and went to Southeast Asia. And what he ended up doing was, it was interesting. These two guys ended up buying motorbikes for like $75 each. And they just rode the countryside and they just fell in love with Vietnam. It is exactly what happened. So he started a little, unbeknownst to me, I thought he was just traveling and be back in 2 months. He started a little import export company over there while he was there. And they were like dealing with cashews, and they ended up getting some pretty big contracts. And one of them was for coconut oil. So he got into, going into the factories. He was actually on the ground, and his partner was Vietnamese. So they actually had access to things that as Americans, when we go over and look at factories, we don't see the real story. Sure. So he was, they were in the middle of all this and they were sourcing and by that time I had gone holistic in my approach to medicine. And so, he just knew enough from his background with I guess with me being his mother that he went, boy, something's wrong. They're poor. This is not what we think we're getting. When there's 20%, the first thing any big contract, anybody that was sourcing coconut oil for big companies in the US, the first thing they would ask him is, well, how much variance is there? You can have 20% or 19.999% of anything in that jar. And if it's under that 20% mark, you do not have to put it on your label. Well, guess what? So, because you look at some of these, like coconut's a commodity, and you look at some of these prices of coconut oil and you can't even buy the coconuts for what the coconut oil is costing. Mm-hmm. So some of that is just, again, Casper, we were talking about that before the show started, just the logical part of you just take a step back and go, what's going on, Right. So he actually stopped. He had kind of almost like a moral check, and he just stopped doing anything with coconut oil. It was so gross, and the way that they were producing it was so unethical. Mm-hmm. And he walked away from it completely, which was interesting. He just thought, I can't send that to the United States. And and I will tell you, it was cute because his older sister had our first grandbaby. And she said, Luke, I'm using your coconut oil. I'm putting it all over Ava. And he said, yeah, don't put that on the baby. Oh, no. I got the good one. I went and I got the really good one. And, and he said, yeah, don't put that anywhere on the baby. So he took a step back and he kind of got away from coconut oil. At that point, they were sourcing sand to India and whatever. Okay. So he was in this middle of the sand deal, SAND, like real, in the middle of the jungle of Vietnam. And this little man walked out of the jungle that was Vietnamese, that spoke perfect English, and said, oh, I heard there's, and my son's played football in college, he's big American with blue eyes. And he said, I heard there's an American here. What are you doing here? And Luke goes, what are you doing here? This guy spoke perfect English. Of course, Luke's got a translator with him. And he said, come. He said, I'm actually an engineer and a scientist. I developed airplane parts for Lockheed Martin my whole career. I retired early. He ended up being on some patents and was able to retire when he was younger. He went back over to his mother's village in Vietnam. And he said, I had an idea when I was in Canada at the time. And he said, I saw wheat being processed in the field. And he goes, the coconut oil that we get in North America isn't real. And Luke goes, no, I know that. And he goes, well, I've made it. He said, come and see what I've got. So Luke, goes to this little factory. He and the whole entourage walk over to this little factory that Ton, who is still our partner, is just pumping out this coconut oil. He's got one little machine. It's almost like an artillery unit, right? I mean, he's got one machine. He's pumping out coconut oil. He's got jars all over the place. And Luke said, well, are you selling any of it? And he said, well, no, I don't know how to sell it. And he said, well, what's the process? And anyway, because of his background with these bigger companies, he recognized, and Ton said, and look, it's completely clear. When it melts, coconut oil should be completely clear because that means there's nothing else in it. Since then, Casper, since we've started this, companies are adding chemicals to make it clear.
I'm
so
sure.
Sometimes you can't even tell that now because they've caught on to that. However, Ton's was naturally 100% clear. Luke said, how much would a jar of this be? I mean, it was just astronomical, right? Because he didn't have any business behind it. He was just making the best coconut oil. So Luke and he worked together for about 6 months, and Luke came home for his brother's graduation from high school. His youngest brother's graduating from high school. So he came home for that. We hadn't seen him in probably a year. He came home and he just, in his duffel bag, it was Mother's Day, it was graduation. And he had this jar of just, white, whatever. And he pulled it out of his duffel bag. He unwrapped it from his underwear and he handed it to me. He said, Happy Mother's Day, Mom. And I said, what is that? And he goes, it's coconut oil. And I said, oh, well, thanks, and I knew that coconut oil wasn't very good at that point. So I wasn't that impressed with it. But anyway, well, thanks so much, honey. What a sweet Mother's Day gift, whatever. So he said, try it. He said, I want you and all your weird friends to test this and tell me what you think. I guess we're all holistic doctors.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, we'll see what we got. Well, I had your dad test some of that.
Mm-hmm.
I was in class with Casper's dad at the time, getting some post-education. And your dad basically said, what is this? Mm-hmm. And I said, this is coconut oil. So that's where the story comes in. He was the one that solidified that what we had was real. So that patent, we patented it. And we started with 6 jars of coconut oil in our family living room. And I mean, we drew the label out on a napkin, or we didn't know what we were doing. And all we knew to do was go to holistic doctors. Mm-hmm. I didn't know any other field. So we started peddling it to, your dad and holistic doctors that were in my world. And they started, and this is, to be honest, the story and why we named it Skinny was less is more. There's nothing else in here. At the same time, I started using this stuff and I lost 11 pounds. I'm in my 50s. You don't, as a woman, you just don't do that. You don't lose weight. And I was using it. It was so funny, Casper. I had it in my kitchen. I didn't really know what to do with it at the time. I was like, and so I put it in coffee and I was putting it on my hair. And then I scooped some up and I put it on my face. And pretty soon, that jar was going, I was losing the jar and I was just kind of panicked. And I thought, and of course it came from Vietnam. And, I was like, okay, what are they putting in this? Because I was losing weight and I just had that aha moment. What am I doing differently? And the only thing I had added was this coconut oil. So Luke came home. He was gone for about a month. He came, doing stuff in the United States because he hadn't been stateside in a while. He came home and he walked in the back door. And like I said, I've got these big boys and I knew if he got in, we had grandbaby and all this stuff going on. And he walked in the back door and I said, sit down, I want to talk to you. He thought he was in trouble, and I went and I got that jar and I said, okay, I'm running out of this. I've got to have more. And what is this really, Luke? What are they doing to this? What is this? And he goes, well, I knew when I gave it to you that you were just too busy, and I just wanted you to try it. He goes, actually, Mom, I think I'm going to patent it. And he said, I've got a guy in Europe that will take it and get it all over Europe. And I was like, no, we have got to have this in America. We're all fat and unhealthy. Do not take it to Europe. And he goes, well, I don't know what to do with it. And I said, okay, well, I'll help you. Thus, we started with that 6 jars of coconut oil in a family living room. And I think this month he'll ship in 10 tons of oil. So we're online, obviously we're in medical establishments like you. We've kind of backed into, because of So we started with just with coconut oil for about 2.5 years. And then we did an oil pulling product, and we did some face products. And right now we're really focusing on developing out facial products. So it's fun. We've got a little CBD product that is my favorite. It's like a little anti-wrinkle cream. Use it for everything. If I have a bee sting, I use it. If I have a wrinkle coming on, I use it. And it's funny, Casper, I will tell you, as an old woman, I literally use this one product that's all I use. I use
Which one is that?
It's just a cleansing balm.
The cleansing.
I use it to take for my skin. I use it to take my makeup off. I wash my skin with it, and I re-moisturize with it. And then I use this for just around like any problem that I feel like I've got. I use this little, the CBD healing balm. And that's it. All my friends are getting facelifts and I don't know, all this weird stuff. And I think if you just tone it down, less is more. And real. And so we are also developing other products for the skin at this point, because people are just so hungry to just have that help and to have, that real ability to heal basically from the inside out and the outside in. It's all like your dad teaches. It's all put together. It's not just something singularly. It's your life. It's your attitude. It's what you put on your skin. But I will tell you, this patent that we have on this, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I want to get into that. And there are so many applications. I want to go over those a little bit more, because a lot of people just think nowadays coconut oil is a good oil to cook with. They're saying, you're going away from vegetable oils, and we'll hit on that too. But first, I have to say, amazing story. So many things in there were just wonderfully.
Crazy.
Even that litmus test that Luke had, that don't put it on your baby, right? Would you I feel like so many marketers out there have to ask themselves that before they go around saying this is wonderful for you. Would you put it on your own child, your own baby, right? That's very sensitive, that's newborn, that you love so much. I would say that 90% of these marketers out there that create these products would be like, no, don't use that.
Right. If you're in the factory, that's exactly right. And that is where, if you can't eat it, like everything we make, 5 or less ingredients, you could eat everything we make. If you can't eat it off a spoon, why would you ever put it on your skin? Your skin's your largest organ. It just is fact.
And it absorbs so much. It absorbs.
Learn that from your dad. Yes, exactly. It is. And, I think it's common sense, and we've gotten away from that. And all we do is listen to marketing, who are, and even as doctors, you have all these drug reps that come in and just spill, and it's marketing. What's the reality? What's the truth? Let's take a step back. 5 or less ingredients. If you can eat it, then you know that you can put it on your skin, and you can put it on your baby, and you can give it to your dog, and, you can have it in your home.
Right. And let's talk about quality, because that is what determines everything that goes into our practice. And basically, we feel like as long as you have quality, results will come out of that. So that whether it's a medical procedure, a product, or anything you put on your skin, you have to look at quality. And this is where I think so many people get it wrong, because they think, oh, a supplement is a supplement, is a cream is a cream. It says it's good. It says it's organic. We get quality really good when it comes to TVs, cars, and designer things. We will pay a lot for a nice Mercedes-Benz or an extra HD 4K TV, right?
Right.
That we pay for a lot. We get quality, but we often miss it with things like what we put in our bodies every single day. And we've tested a ton of coconut oils out there. And you're right, most don't test well. And we have our own ways, energetic, looking at the Reese, or we look at it holistically as well when we look at anything that we're going to advise someone, especially someone like a patient who's sick and has to regain their health. So they can't have anything toxic, anything better than the best quality, because otherwise results won't be there. So we get that. But can you tell me how skinny, I mean, you went into it a little bit, that it's pure and everything, but can you talk about also the patent and this Nutrilock system? Because I understand that's very important to defining how is this quality better than other coconut oils.
Well, and that's where this patent comes in. So everything that we make is started with Ton's patent, this brilliant scientist that developed how do you make a coconut oil? And this is the problem with coconut oil. And I'll tell you, it's not the coconut oil itself, it's how to keep it shelf stable.
Mm.
It's so interesting. We spent a lot of time in Vietnam once Luke was over there, started this import export company. Of course, and I just want to mention, just to finish that story, he's never really come home again, just so everybody knows. I mean, 12 years later, he's between now the US because of his company here.
He's a part-time Vietnamese citizen.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk about, and of course, he never went back and got his master's. So
no need.
You know what? I don't think he missed a thing. The more I get
No.
into it, like I said, he could join, it's just different. So that being said, this Nutrilux system, what Tom developed was a way to keep it shelf stable. So when a grandmother, let's say, coconut oil is the staple in so many of these Asian countries. And so it's kind of a family tradition. The grandmother makes it, or the family makes it in their kitchen. Well, it's only good for a week. If it's real coconut oil without any stability in it, without any stabilizers in it, it goes rancid in a week because it's real. The brilliance behind this Nutrilux system is that it has a shelf stability. The way that he produces it, that's where that brilliant mind comes in. The way that he is able to take it and produce it, he uses a dry dehumidification method, and it keeps it completely shelf stable. This was interesting. I'm at our house, and so I've got products that we've made over the years that I still use. I mean, if they use me as their guinea pig a lot, and so I've got products that are in jars. I was looking, I've got jars that are 5 and 6 years old, and I use them just every day. They're just nothing. There's nothing wrong with them. They've never gone rancid. They're just beautiful. They're still in that same state. So that Nutrilux system is such a it's just such a brilliant part of this whole thing. The next thing that we're doing is we're making an avocado oil with the same technology. So if we can get that, because we know that avocado oil again is a great, so that's coming out. I mean, we're working on that. I think they're going to be launching that. So I'm sure your dad and you will be the first to know that. I'll send a jar and let your dad test it.
We'd love to test it. Yes.
But again, you can see that technology really can be used in a broader sense. We've just focused on coconut oil because we had it down. And then we also, the other thing, coconut oil for the skin is very comedogenic, and that's the problem. It breaks your skin out as a woman. We have figured out how to microfilter it so it is hypoallergenic and non-comedogenic. So not only do you have this beautiful cooking oil, and that's different. Our oil for our skin is actually hypoallergenic, non-comedogenic. So somebody with acne can use it, and it doesn't break their skin out. It's actually balancing the pH in their system. And a lot of times that's where breakouts come from. Everybody is just there. It's like their skin is just on fire. And so this actually goes in, soothes, and then it also balances. So that's where our beauty products for the skin, and I mean, anybody that's got skin issues, obviously we all know, that eczema, psoriasis is basically a digestion issue. But if you can support that digestion, and again, eating coconut oil, supports the digestion. You've got, and I don't want to get into, but those MCTs, there's medium chain fatty acids. We hear so much about MCT oil, and that is really lab made. MCFA, medium chain fatty acids, are God made. So again, that's something I learned from your dad. Anytime God makes something, it's way better than when a lab makes it. So that is a little Dr. Schultz in my head. So that is where, we know that these medium chain fatty acids are actually so powerful. They're the lauric acid. That's what's in mother's breast milk. That's why breastfed babies tend to be healthier than bottle fed babies, because of that lauric acid. Real coconut oil that has not been tampered with, and that is what we have in this jar, has the most lauric acid of any other food on the planet besides mother's breast milk. So some of those things just become aha moments. It's antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial, antiparasital. You've got so many benefits of just an oil that, and again, that's when we started. My husband's a dentist. And so we started oil pulling, because he was trying to, basically we did that because he had patients with dry mouths, and he just, there's a product called chlorhexene. There's just so many different chemicals that are so toxic in these products that you're giving a patient who's already compromised And that's where you said about Skinny with the patients that your dad and your company in your practice sees, they've got to be clean. I mean, some of us can get by with a few things. And I hate to say this, but, as we researchers, there's 80,000 consumer chemicals that we are dealing with every day in our environment, that from the couch we sit on to everything has all these chemicals, every body products, sprays, cleaning products. I mean, you just start naming the list, food, it's all full of these toxic chemicals and that we can't really control. And that's where what you're doing as far as just giving people tools to actually build their life on some solid foundation, and just using products that are really going to help their kids, help themselves, help the environment. I think it's really important.
Absolutely. I think so much of what you have to look at beyond the quality aspect, and this goes along with the quality aspect, is the toxicity aspect. You're not going to stay away from all toxins at all times. You're breathing in right now. Your body produces toxins itself, so there are all of these toxins out there. What you're trying to do is minimize it. This is what I always tell people. You don't have to, sit in a bubble away from toxins,
Yes.
even though a lot of us are sitting in somewhat bubbles now and trying to avoid every single little thing out there.
Yeah.
They're already in us, they're already toxins there, but you do want to minimize it. And that's why I always say, take little steps so that it's the barrel method. You got drops coming in, but you also can minimize those drops like an umbrella does almost, by using high quality products with purity to them and few toxins in them, if any. You should really go for none. You
Yes.
should understand every single word that is on the ingredient list.
If you can't understand it, don't use it.
Yeah, no, it's very true.
It's just common sense. And even people, so just so you know, and I'm sure that you already know this, but for your listeners, if you see the word fragrance on a bottle, they can put anything they want. That is a cover for, they can have 150 different chemicals in there to create that fragrance. And as long as they have fragrance on the label, they do not have to expose what is really in that product. So there's so many loopholes that we've gotten under. And I think we were talking about this earlier before the show started. And, everything is greenwashed. Everybody says natural, eco. People are looking for that. They want that. They want to treat their families well. They want to do the right thing. But you go to a store and it says eco-friendly, natural. Those words have absolutely nothing behind them. They're controlled. That is controlled by the health and beauty industry. There is no FDA that's controlling the health and beauty industry. And we don't know that. We think there's some, well, this is America. They would never let you do that. 100% they will. There's nobody controlling anything that is going into our health and body products. And, we see patients that are like, well, I eat organic and I'm drinking water and okay, then we go through their routine, right? Well, they're putting, Bath and Body Works. I don't want to use words, but I mean, they're using just a normal,
right,
all from head to toe at the very beginning of the day, spray deodorant, head to toe.
right.
And all of a sudden you're like, well, you've just done yourself in before 7:00 in the morning.
Absolutely.
Your body's having to try to basically rebound from that for the next 5 hours.
Oh, for sure. It's a toxic burden your body has to deal with. As my father always said, everyone almost alive, their organs of elimination are on overtime. They're running your liver, your lymphatic, and it usually turns into the skin then, because that's a detox organ. It should go through the main three of your kidneys, liver, and lymphatic system. But when those get too much, guess where it goes? It goes through your skin
Anymore.
You start getting skin conditions.
100%. They're already dealing with those 80,000 consumer chemicals that are out there that you're not even aware of. And so as you add this toxic burden to your body, all of a sudden it tips the boat. And, you see so many kids right now that I think the biggest thing, they all have like eczema on their skin and they all have this weird stuff on their skin. And, I just really hurt for those mothers that are trying to do the right thing, but, they're putting baby products that they think, and children's products that they think, well, that says natural, it must be okay. And I'll tell you what, those little words, fragrance, natural fragrance. I mean, it doesn't matter what it says. I mean, there's just so many things that we're putting on our kids and ourselves that we don't recognize. And Casper, I have to tell you. So Luke, when he was telling me about that, I honestly didn't believe it. I mean, I fed my kids. I raised 5 kids out of Whole Foods. We used to call it whole paychecks because it was so
Yep,
expensive.
everyone does.
Okay. And so I thought I was really doing myself and my kids this big favor. So after he told me, Mom, they can put 20% of anything they want, and that doesn't have to, and it have to go on the label. We were at Whole Foods, I don't know, probably the next week. And I said, well, look, this is what I picked up something. I said, this is what I'm using. And I got the label, and I said, I'm a big label reader. And I said, it doesn't say it on the label. And he said, Mom, that's because it doesn't have to. Mm-hmm. It's like, and he looked at me, and this finally about four times where I said, but look, it doesn't say that on the jar. It doesn't say. He stopped in the middle of the store, and he looks at me, he goes, Mom, you're the smartest person I know. Why can't you get this? And he goes, it doesn't have to say it on the label. They can put anything they want in it. And I got so upset. I found our FDA in Chicago, and I went and got to the guy with the pocket protector and the short sleeves.
Yep.
Said, I didn't know what else to do. I was going to sue him. I just didn't know what to do. I was so upset. I literally marched in. This guy was sweating. It was just his tie. He was just, and I just said, and he goes, and this is what his explanation was. He said, well, we have to have some regulation on something coming that are in the jars. And he said, an apple is not an apple. It's not an apple. It depends on the sun and the soil, depending on how much fiber and what it actually has. And if we had stringent, like if it was too stringent, you couldn't call that an apple if it didn't meet within this very, small perimeter of guidelines. So he said, that was his explanation. After we went around a little while with that. And he said, you have to have something. He said, I know that they abuse that. We know that they abuse that, but we don't know what to do about it because you've just got to keep the whole world moving. So it wasn't quite that eloquent the way he said it.
I'm sure. I love that you rattled the FDA.
I was so mad
to admit basically that, hey, yeah, we got to allow some toxins in there. Like, what are we going to do? Police everyone? It's like, well, it's kind of what people think you're doing. When, like you said, when you read a label, you put your trust in that there are regulations that will show you everything in there. And that is not the truth. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go.
I was going to say that's the reason that I think it's so important to go to the people that are making it and ask these questions of, tell me about how you made skinny, right? Because if you're just like, oh, it's just in a manufacturer and this and that, and you never even mention that 19.99% could be something you've never heard of that causes cancer. That could be the case. No one knows. I'm not saying it is, but I'm not saying it isn't either. You don't know that unless you go to it. And of course, there's trust in what you're saying, but what you're saying at least is giving some level of transparency into why it is of this quality and why what you're putting on there is exactly what's in there.
When we do that, what we have found when you start working with contract manufacturers, I mean, we don't contract manufacture anything of skinny products, but when you start, they literally will tell a contract manufacturer, oh, I want a face cream. They don't even know. I mean, the beauty company is marketing it, but they have no idea what ingredients are in that face cream. They don't even ask for the ingredient list. I mean, from the contract manufacturers we know, because obviously we consider ourselves a manufacturer because we literally, this is therapeutic grade essential oils. Every ingredient in here is energetically tested per your dad's technique. And I mean, everything that we do is as good and as true and as honest and has the integrity and transparency that we can possibly do in the world today. And we're just trying to get better. I mean, we are just trying to take it one step further and one step further because we feel like that is the future, because we all, you've got so much sickness, you've got so many skin problems. And that's the problem with a line of beauty products that just deems themselves natural. They're made from the same contract manufacturers that are making the generic stuff, and it's all the same. Nobody's looking behind the curtain.
Nobody. And there is, again, that level of trust when you see natural, oh, it must be good. We got,
or if it's in a certain store, or if it's marketed a certain way, or 100%. And Casper, I think we touched on this, but the beauty industry is self-regulated. Mm-hmm. Self-regulated. So one of the big chains called me. I was at the office one day, and it was a buyer from one of the big chains of beauty And I almost fell over. I thought, how in the world did she find me? You know, and she said, I found y'all online and I read your story and I'm really interested. And I said, why? And she said, well, we actually we had them come to, we had a product and the only thing that they required was that it didn't eat through the box. That was the
Didn't
requirement.
corrode and eat through the
It
box. I
did
love
not
it.
eat through the box. This is a major chain, beauty chain. And she said, and then once we were told that it did eat through the box, when they tested it, we had 2 years to get it off our shelves.
Wow.
That's
The
the
bar is not set very high.
there is no, that bar, I'll tell you what. I mean, those are the stories that change, that you just say, we are doing something different and we are going to pursue excellence and we are going to pursue transparency because, and I don't think anybody means to hurt anybody. I think it's all money. It's money driven.
Yeah.
You got a good product. You got a great marketer. I think that's what we're not great at, is probably marketing, because I don't think people know what we have. And even like oil pulling with Skinny, you have got a real coconut oil that has all of that goodness in the jar. And then we put it in little packets or we put it in a jar. And you can, you know, with oil pulling, that's such an important aspect. And again, everything that we developed almost out of our own family needs. So my husband's a doctor and a dentist, and he just had all these patients with dry mouth.
Yeah.
Because everybody that takes any type of medication ends up with, you know, most of the time will end up with dry mouth, and especially if you have gum disease and inflammation and stuff. And so he just came and he came to my sons and said, what can we do? And so they said, well, let's get to it. So we started oil pulling with just coconut oil. Well, this is real coconut oil. Like this is oil pulling is an old Ayurvedic method of detoxification. They used to use it for like 30 different ailments, right? The Indians, and they would use it from everything from a cold sore to cancer. That's how they detox the body, was oil pulling. Well, now the oils that we're using to oil pull are processed. So that's where the difference between oil pulling with Skinny. Can you see my teeth? I don't whiten my teeth. I oil pull every day.
I want to get into that in a little bit, because I want to go over the applications. Oil pulling is one of my favorite applications for coconut oil, and it is so detoxifying. People overlook it, and I'll go into my story, because I visited my biological dentist yesterday, and she's like, "What's your secret?" I'm like, "Oh, oil pulling."
It's Skinny.
No, but first, let's talk about using coconut oil for cooking. Because so many people right now, you even mentioned it, avocado oil. I just saw it was a high percentage of things on the shelves are rancid, and everyone's saying it's healthy. It could be rancid. And then you have so many people that are just realizing vegetable oils, a lot of seed oils, are not good for us. We've been using it forever. That's not good. And, there's ghee is good. But coconut oil, can you go into the benefits of cooking with coconut oil?
100%. When you've got coconut oil, has those lauric fatty acids in it that literally, when you cook with it and you're ingesting it, it has the ability, and to not get technical, it basically has the ability to pass through a different channel and go right for energy. So it doesn't get stuck in your adipose, it doesn't get stuck in your fat tissue. It literally has the ability, because of the medium chain fatty acids. Oils are long chain fatty acids. This is the uniqueness of coconut oil. It's lauric acid. It's all of these acids. It's made up of acids, of these medium chain fatty acids. And so what happens is it's able to go directly to producing ketones for your brain. So as you ingest it, and I like patients, I give coffee a free reign, as long as they're putting a tablespoon of coconut oil in it. Drink your coffee in the morning, but put a tablespoon of coconut oil in it.
That's the bulletproof way right there. That's all Dave Asprey. And of course he does the MCT oil, which I appreciate brain octane, but I use Skinny in mine also.
100% upgrade, because Skinny is 65% real MCT.
Yeah.
So we're real. We're not lab made. It's real. So why not just upgrade and just throw some Skinny in there, and then also just cooking with it, getting it because Skinny doesn't have that coconutty flavor, because it's real. So a lot of times how can you open a jar of coconut oil and it all smell the exact same? Every coconut's different. So Luke, my son, which we call him the coconut whisperer, he can actually open a jar of Skinny and tell you if it was a spring production, a fall production, a winter production, because they smell a little different. but they
Amazing.
smell fresh. There's no like, and even when you cook with them, I can fry in skinny. Like I can fry, like stir fry,
Hmm.
and it doesn't have that it doesn't over coconut. I think people get a bad taste of coconut because they've used inferior products, and it
Right.
does. They put a chemical in it to make them all smell the same.
Yeah.
Joke.
It's got a high burn temperature, and this one especially I noticed, even with cooking with things, even eggs or anything like that, where you probably wouldn't want a coconut flavor to it. You don't have that with this.
Nope.
And that's the
It's
thing when you're cooking with these oils, just so like if you cooked with an olive oil that's really good, it's not going to taste like olives. You could even do sweet things, of course. So the
yes.
oil itself is very pure, and you're saying it's quite beneficial. What about for digestion itself? Because I have had questions even with constipation or just I have a bad stomach, oils don't do it well. What do
Well,
you
and
say about
because your gut is your second brain.
it? Yep.
Obviously, learned that from your dad, and so because of that, this is so good, not just for your brain, but the way that this breaks down. This goes down. So I have patients that have constipation, or like I work with a lot of autistic kids, and they all suffer from dry. What do they suffer from? Dry skin, constipation. I mean, all the same. You could just write the book on it, right?
Yeah.
Because their cells are not utilizing, and they're not able to use the glucose to get where they need to go for their brain and their bodies. That is where coconut oil becomes so important, because they're the medium chain fatty acids.
Mhm.
So you've got those short chain fatty acids that can get through. If somebody's got constipation, I literally tell them to take I tell them to oil pull at night, take 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, and see me in the morning. That's it. I mean,
Simple prescription.
simple, and you don't gain weight. Your body loves it. It's nurturing for your brain. The way that we make it, and again, I just keep bringing your dad into it because he really was so life-changing in my approach to medicine. And it is about the energy. And we
Mhm.
do really make this. We are a family company. We care. We're still trying to get better. We're not just sitting on our laurels and going, oh, well, thank God we've got a great company here. We are really fighting to make everything even better. And like even with our products and my right now, our team, we've got our team on developing 5-step beauty program. I will probably always only use this because I'm just a simple gal and I just like one product that I can travel with and have. But I will tell you what, there's serums and there's things that I know will benefit our skin. And so anyway, I just feel like simple is better. Get me back to where I was supposed to be going, Casper, on this, because I know
Well,
we were supposed to
you,
talk about.
you answered my question on digestion and cooking.
Okay.
You're good there. So we definitely hit that. Let's talk now about immunity, because that was a big one that came up. And of course, right now during the pandemic, a lot of people are talking about immunity. And I think they're overlooking coconut oil in that, because you even go back historically and many cultures, even in South America, still to this day, they have that commonality of using coconuts in general and coconut oil for immunity. So I even heard that in South America, like Guyana and places, they'll pour coconut oil onto their heads in the sun if they're starting to feel sick. And it's a ritual, but there is some science to it. And they're looking at that now. So can you go into how it can actually help with boosting the immune system?
Again, it all comes back to those fatty acids and that lauric
Yeah.
acid. That is what is in mother's breast milk
Hmm.
to protect the baby. So you take that, obviously we're not going around drinking mother's breast milk, but the next God-made product that has that lauric acid in it is coconut. And,
Hmm.
and with the oil, you get such a concentrated version of that coconut that it is a huge immune boost. It is a protection. I met this lady at the store one day, and she literally had Skinny. She didn't know we own Skinny. She had a little thing of Skinny in her purse. We were at the grocery store, and I was in California. I was in LA. I was visiting my daughter, and she had this little jar. It was hilarious, kind of like we talked about people that I know that love your podcast, and she had this little jar, and she was putting it in her ears. It was hysterical, and she in the store, and I said, I just walked up and I said, hey, I saw that, you've got coconut oil, and do you like this product? And she said, oh, there's nothing like it. She said, I feel like I've got a cold coming on. So she was sticking it in her ears and up her nose because she was in the store. She was trying to protect herself. This is way before COVID. And She said, I even put it in my eyes at night. She said, it is so clean. It just is so great. And I just thought it was so cute, but absolutely. It is such it's not just immune boost. It's actually protection. You've
Mhm.
got antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial, antiparasital. I mean, sickness falls into one of those categories, just fact. And then you've got pain, and it's also good for inflammation. And pain is always inflammation. So you kind of have this. We try not to. I mean, it almost sounds like I'm selling some snake oil to you, but it just is able to do a whole lot. I think that we probably don't give it credit for, and it's gotten some bad raps. Just even on the market from marketing. From
Yes.
marketing, it does. There's probably 1,500. The last time I looked, there's 1,500 individual studies on coconut oil. And again, you go back to just the facts. So in 1940, before coconut oil got its first hit, when corn and soybean oils came in and they did this big marketing push to get it off the market, and they said it's bad and it's terrible for you. And well, guess who paid that money to get that campaign? The soybean and canola oil market. Okay, so the farmers back in the 1940s, they decided that they were using corn and soybeans and to try to fatten their cows. And they went, oh, we got a great idea. Coconut, there was so prolific that they said, we're going to take coconut oil and we're going to feed it to our cows and we're just going to fatten them up overnight. Well, guess what? They all got skinny. They didn't fatten. They all lost weight, and they were all more cognizant. They were like, oh, we got to stop giving this to the cows. They're actually alert.
They're too smart.
Smart cows. So they started feeding them corn and soybean again because it
Yeah.
kept them dumb and it kept them docile and it kept
Yep.
them fat. It got them fat very quickly.
And
So
that's what we feed ourselves these days mostly.
and our
Yeah.
kids and
Yeah.
so that's where absolutely. I mean, it is really incredible if you just go back, and like Southeast Asia, we're in Vietnam a lot,
Hmm.
not since the pandemic, but we're over there quite a bit. And I'm working with people in the jungle and stuff. It's super fun. But you see, there's not fat people. There's not autistic people. There's not Parkinson's people. There's just not people with a lot of diseases. There are more diseases now in the city that McDonald's and all of these fast food restaurants have come. But when you get into the jungle, you don't have any of that stuff. And people are thin, but everything that they're doing is based on that coconut oil. Everything they cook, all the fish they eat fish, and they are really, coconut oil is, the grandmother makes it for the family and she makes it once a week, and because by that week's end it's rancid, and that's what they're doing. And I mean, you see just these families of people, and you just don't see obesity. You don't
Yeah.
see any of the things that we struggle with, and it just has to it's an aha moment. I just had to take a step back and just think, what are we doing to ourselves here in America, where we just have all of this opportunity, but yet we don't know. We think we have the knowledge because we've been marketed to.
Yeah.
But if you can just take a step back and recognize, like the cow, like the farmers in the 1940s, they found out real quickly, boy, that didn't work. They were actually feeding the cow's metabolism.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. And if you actually step back and look at the ancestral knowledge that is there and that connection to nature, that's what kept them healthy.
Yes.
And we could say, well, we live longer now, but the quality is down. We're just keeping ourselves, managing our sicknesses. We're sicker than ever, really. So
100%, 100%. I mean, they can make those studies say anything they want to say, but you look at somebody's quality of life
yeah.
and how they're feeling, and it's just makes me sad. I mean, everybody's just on 12 different medications from one to the next, and I think if we can take a step back and really start foundationally, and that's what we're here for. We're trying to create the best products on the planet. If you can't eat it off a spoon, don't put it on your skin. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very simple.
Yeah. And one of the things you mentioned is of course the 12 medication. It brings me back to so much toxicity that we're living with, and coconut oil being detoxifying in that element of oil pulling. And that's really what we love it at the center for. We have people in detox programs going through chelation and all different types of detoxification in the therapies. And this is such a great complementary way that you could go home and daily detox through the gum, through the mouth, through this swishing, Carax therapy, as they call it, oil pulling. And I even had Dr. Dominic Nischwitz, who wrote All in Your Mouth, saying he doesn't even floss that much. He barely brushes, but he does oil pull daily.
I
And This is exactly what I told the dentist when I went yesterday. I went to my biological dentist, and my brother didn't have such great teeth, so it's kind of problematic. He used to go to this dentist a lot and have to have gum issues resolved. And I come in and she says, "You must have some different genetic code or something because your teeth are wonderful. You've never had a cavity. They're great. I don't even have to look at them really. I go in, gums are great. You're great. What are you doing? What's your secret, Cass?" Right? And I'm like, "Oil pulling. What's getting that's it, really." I don't brush multiple times or use anything fancy. It's all natural. And then I oil pull. And yeah, I mean, oil pulling, we'll get into it. I want to hear your take and how that works in a sense. It is a little bit time consuming, you could say, although if you did it while in the shower and kind of, don't do it after and add another 15 minutes to your regimen, then it's definitely doable. And I think it's something worth it and beneficial. Uh,
100%.
and your skinny coconut oil also, I'll say that it's the peppermint too. So it's like your I don't even really use mouthwash. I just do it with that and you get the very clean, refreshing feel afterwards. So tell me about oil pulling with skinny and because I feel like that's such a big part of what you've done, especially with the peppermint oil. It says it on their oil pulling. Tell us more about that.
Okay. Well, we started because my husband came. He's like I said, he had, is in practice, and he just said everybody's got dry mouth because everybody's on medication.
Mm,
And then we started looking at it. I started oil pulling. It was funny. If you want to know the real story behind the story. So when I got this coconut oil, when Luke first brought it over, and I was reading, trying everything with it, and I did stick it in my mouth, and I started to swish with it. I'd never done anything like that before. I was upstairs in our bedroom. My husband walks in and he goes, "Oh dear God, do not tell me that's that coconut oil," because I was using it for everything. I was obsessed with it, and he was like, "Oh my, do not tell me that's that coconut oil." I'm swishing away. Yeah, it is. But after, I started doing that, and then he came back and he said, and this is the thing I like as a woman, and this is just a little side note, but we eat a lot of a lot of spices, a lot of Indian spices, and a lot of and sometimes you smell a little garlicky, and you smell a little bit like spices.
for sure.
If I oil pull at night, I don't have morning breath in the morning. And no
Mm,
matter what I've eaten throughout the day, I can even do a good head of garlic and I'm just fine. So it really is, just from that vantage point, it's just a nice, refreshing, I don't have to whiten my teeth. I just oil pull. I feel like if I start to get a sore throat, or if I feel like I've got something going on, I don't quite put it in my ears and nose like the lady in Whole Foods, but I do start to oil pull. If I start to feel like I've got something going on, I always oil pull a couple times during the day, and that's usually my little secret. It knocks it. So oil pulling, is it basically, and let's talk about the gums in the mouth, because that's such a, we used to think you just cut the neck off and anything up here is mouth and dental and anything down here is
mhm.
medical. And that's not the case. Everything is connected. All those meridians, all of those pathways, all of those, everything is connected to the teeth, and the teeth represent, organs and all of this stuff that's going on. And even MDs at this point are figuring that. I mean, Western medicine, traditional medicine is figuring that out too.
Oh yeah.
It's not just us weirdos over here. So I think that people are understanding that, and in disease, gum disease, inflammation, plaque, it's all this buildup, and this lipid that's in this oil is powerful enough to actually dissolve that plaque. I mean, it's powerful. You're not. I think sometimes we think if it's not a real drug, then it can't really be working. And this is that those fatty acids in there are very, very powerful, and they're real. They've not been diluted with anything. I mean, that is, that's right out of the jar. And so as you are able to swish, and you are actually able to help the plaque, because we're finding that those lipids really do go in and they're able to dissolve that plaque. So that is a benefit. Inflammation of the mouth, that's what, anytime you feel pain in your mouth, you would just label that some type of inflammation. Sometimes you don't know where it's coming from, but you know that there's some type of inflammation going on. And this just goes right to the inflammation and really soothes it. But it's not just putting a band-aid on it.
Mhm.
It's actually going in and from a cellular level and able to go in and actually work. So you're not just band-aiding anything like you would if you were just taking a rinse or whatever. You're actually going in and helping yourself from a deeper level. So I think I'm a huge proponent of oil pulling for people that are sick, for people that are really sick, for people that just, and again, I think even for kids to oil pull a little bit. I know it's hard sometimes if you've got an autistic kid to put oil in their mouth, but even if they just hold it in their mouth,
Mhm.
that's doing something. That's you're able to your body can help a whole lot. Your body is way smarter than we think it is. And so, even just holding that in your mouth, and the peppermint tastes good. And, I don't think it's offensive. And then our coconut oil, even if you just do the regular coconut oil, it doesn't have a coconut flavor. It just kind of has just a fresh
Oh
flavor.
yeah. No, it's wonderful. And the mouth is the gateway to the body. People need to, like you said, we like to just isolate the teeth or mouth, and it's not a big deal. But watch documentaries like Root Cause, which we had a part in, and I know Fraser, the person who was basically about and the director and behind the whole, and you'll see what kind of an effect it has on the rest of the body. Even the correlations, like you mentioned, plaque. People with plaque usually on their teeth, you'll find a correlation of plaque in the arteries, and it's such a high correlation too. We're not talking about possibly, usually you'll see 90% or higher in that. So it's kind of crazy how so much starts in the mouth. And the coconut oil is wonderful, of course, antibacterial and everything, so it helps there, but also binds to so much. That's why you spit it out afterwards. You don't
Yeah.
swallow it, right? You need to spit it out, and you need to follow certain, guidelines in doing that. But it's been a wonderful extra procedure, I would say, almost, or therapy we utilize, and patients really do notice it. Your
I
mouth is cleaner, your teeth are brighter. Like I said, my dentist, what's the secret? It's not really a secret anymore. It shouldn't be. It's oil pulling. It's really easy and it's really beneficial. So I think that's one of the most overlooked parts of coconut oil.
And one thing I do want to mention there, just on oil pulling with coconut oil, most coconut oils are highly acidic because of the way they're processed.
Hmm.
And if you oil pull, you know, a lot of times you can ruin the enamel on your teeth
Right.
because of the acidity. You want to make sure that you're oil pulling with Skinny because that's where you really start to notice the difference. It's
I got
alkaline.
the alkaline there. Yeah, I got it here, of
Yep.
course.
Yep. So it's alkaline. It's not going to ruin the enamel on your teeth. So just, I don't want to bash any other coconut oils, but at the same time, just beware. Don't oil pull with any other because there is a big difference, and that's where you start to see the big difference. I really feel like our coconut oil goes in and it's just able to just almost remineralize your teeth, and it
Mm,
just it's just doing a whole lot more than we think. I just believe there's a lot of and people are starting to research it and realize that what's going on in your mouth with the extracellular matrix, for instance, is going on
mhm.
in every cell in your body. So you really are able to detox, even just through that oil pulling in your mouth. So I think there's a lot more there. I think people are hesitant because, like my husband, thought I was crazy, and now you know what? It's just why sit there and put chemicals in your mouth to whiten your teeth when you can oil pull for 30 days and and keep your teeth fresh and get the stains and there's a lot. It's powerful. It can do a lot.
Yeah.
It's not overnight. You're not going to go in and in 15 minutes you're not going to you're not going to one although sometimes one oil pull session and you notice a big difference in the color of your teeth. I mean, I'm not, but usually you're going to do that for 30 days. I mean, we have these packets now, and and that way you can you have how much to use. And that's the other thing, people are like, well, how much to use? We've tried to make it so simple. Just
Hmm.
take the packet, put it in your mouth, swish, and do it for, if you can get it for 5 minutes. Do my husband loves for me to oil pull because I stopped talking. So I in the morning I always have it in my mouth, and I make the bed or whatever, I get dressed, whatever I'm
Yeah.
doing, I just oil pull. And it just it also for women, I really feel like anything that is detoxing your cells is helping you with your weight, is
Hmm.
helping you with wrinkles. It's just overall nurturing to your body and helping you in ways that it's hard to really put a handle on. But I can't imagine going without oil pulling every day. I do it every day, and I can't imagine going out without my cleansing balm with my face. I just can't. And then obviously I'm a coffee drinker, and I love, part of that is I just crave it because I just put scoops of skinny in there and I
Mhm.
just drink away. And I will tell you what, I've never gained those 11 pounds back that I lost when we started with this whole thing. I was just crazy. You just start thinking you're eating oil and you're losing weight because you're eating oil. It almost sounds like it's like that real saturated fat does not attach to your adipose tissue. It does not attach to to your fat tissue. And it's just going in to give you energy. It's a game changer just in your life for a lifestyle, for upgrading your life.
Yeah, it's hard for some people to think that ingesting something that is a fat, right, that is oily and everything would help you to lose weight. We've been so brainwashed to think fats are bad, they're the cause of weight and heart disease, which is a total fallacy. You
Thank you.
go and look at the research and you look at people, even one of my guests, Dr. D. Nicola Antonio, talks so much about it. This is healthy. It's helping you lose weight. It's helping you detoxify. Don't buy into what we had in the past. That science was wrong. It wasn't even really science, it was marketing. So
Yeah.
we need to move past that. And if you're on the fence, what you just said, teeth whitening, clearer skin, weight loss, these are things everyone loves. You're not going to find anyone out there being like, I don't really want to have brighter teeth or lose weight. Like most people would say, wow, it does that too. Let me get on board. And it's clean, it's natural, or all of these things are things that push you into saying, why am I not using it? And one last application I want to go into, which you've hit on a little bit, and I know this is your specialty, is skin, is using it for the skin. And I have the body butter on right now. I had a little bit of a tan that was drying my skin after I got back from Florida recently, and that's wonderful. And like you said, most people, again, you think of, ooh, oily on me, and it's gonna be this heaviness to it and everything, but with skinny products, it's not like that at all. It's very light. So can you go into the benefits first off of just coconut oil and the skin, and then Skinny's products, how they nourish the skin, don't leave it so oily, and really leave it glowing and kind of rejuvenated. It's really a
Oh,
wonderful line.
thank you, Casper. It's true. And I think I think coconut oil gets a bad rap because it does feel heavy. With us microfiltering our products and microfiltering the coconut oil, so it's hypoallergenic, non-comedogenic, you almost have the best of both worlds, because that is actually it's penetrating into the skin. So you are actually, you're feeding your skin. And that's what I really care about, is let's get these. And then, you're not just feeding your skin with coconut oil, but you're feeding your skin with real essential oils. I don't know
Mhm.
which one you use, but real lavender, real rose.
The rose, yeah,
I
smells
love the rose.
wonderful. Yeah.
It's real rose. And anybody that says, "Oh, I don't know that rose was ever my favorite," but that's because it was all fake. When
Mhm.
this rose, I crave it. I crave it. And even just if you're having, a sore back, or there's just so many things that rose is almost like, and we put jojoba oil
Mhm.
in there, and that is almost like a little magic. And then of course the coconut oil, which just is so coconut oil is the most penetrating of any of the oils. About 98% of it actually will penetrate into your cells. So that's where we take those essential oils and that jojoba and the rose oil, and you put it with our coconut oil that's so penetrating, and you're just, you're really treating your cells, you're treating your skin. And you do. I had a bad bike accident a couple years ago, and I had shorts on, and my knees looked, I don't even know how to say, they just look like dog meat. They didn't
Mm.
look like, and I thought, wow, I'll never wear a skirt or shorts again. And I started putting that rose body butter on it immediately. It was soothing. I'm in a skirt right now. My knees are fine. I had no scarring. My knees healed up. I don't have I don't have any wrinkles from it. A lot of times when you have a scar like that, you just end up with a lot of wrinkles because that's just your body's way of kind of healing. You would never know that I had that bike accident. So, you just see the healing benefits, just even personally. And I love that rose jojoba. People love lavender, like babies
Mhm.
after their bath, to just rub that on their skin and just give them, so nice at night to put on the bottom of your feet, makes you sleep well. makes your skin soft. I mean, there's so many applications there for just our body butters and just that nurturing. And again, it's nurturing. It's there's that energy that comes with our products, all the way from our technology, all the way to us making our own products. My youngest son runs our manufacturing. My oldest son runs the company. So when we say, and I'm peddling coconut oil, so we are truly a family company that really cares. And I mean, our heart is to pull back the curtain, because Luke learned that when he was overseas, watching everything actually in the factory being made and saying, what we think we're getting in America, hey gang, we ain't getting it. In fact, we're killing ourselves. And a lot of times, and this is the other thing, you kind of get what you pay for a lot of times. And so, we do this. We've lowered our price on products at any time we can, anytime that we can adjust something where we can lower our price, or, sometimes shipping. I mean, so we're trying to do the right thing every time. And I appreciate my boys for that so much. They have a lot of integrity in that, and they really are committed to this and are just trying to do it right. And we're trying to treat people right. We're trying, so I think it is all is the entire encompassing. But, your dad is really the one in my medical knowledge, is the one who taught me that. I mean, he really was. He has a book called The Art of Medicine. And I said, I probably read that 7 times backwards and forwards. And, and that's what we do as a company. We just try to embody the best. We try to make good decisions. We try to treat people fairly. We try to pay people fairly. Our factories in Vietnam. So we make the coconut oil in Vietnam, we ship it over here, and we microfilter, and we finish that process here in the US. So it is a US made company. We do start by picking the coconuts and putting it through our machines overseas, and then we bring it over and we make everything in the US. So we try to make it the best of both worlds. We control everything. A lot of times, if the guys get a barrel of essential oil in it and they don't think it's right, they'll have me come in and test it. They'll, and sometimes it's just the time of year that it's made, because it's real. So again, our products always smell good. They always feel good. Sometimes they smell a little bit different. Sometimes they look a little bit different, because they are real. And I think sometimes we got to get past that. If you're going to Walmart, guess what? Everything on that shelf looks exactly the same. Fact. If you're hand making it, sometimes things, aren't always, but we've gotten past a lot of that over the years. I think that the production and the manufacturing that we've gotten down, and then our sourcing it's my oldest son is just, because he's got all those contacts, right, from living overseas for 10 years. Our sourcing and our ingredients that are going into our products, I don't think anybody can match them. I think they're that good.
Yeah, no, I could echo that. And again, when you're looking at something from nature, nothing is the same. You're not supposed to have identical things. You look at 2 leaves, you look at any flower, they're all incredibly unique, like snowflakes, right? And each product is going to be like that also. And we have to get past that. I used to, distribute for a German biological medicine company, Soluna, that used to produce these very natural, medicines in Germany for over 100 years that way. And each one would have a little bit different tint to it, because they would use the products at different times, and throughout the year that would change. And people had such a hard time, being like, wait, my last one, this isn't it. It's like, no, that's nature, guys. That is a natural process. Just like you don't look the same as you did last year, guess what? Your product shouldn't look the same either. And we have to get past that. And then we also have to understand something that you said there, that not to look at everything as what's the lowest cost here. What's the highest value for your health? For the most important thing in the world is your health.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to invest a little bit in a higher quality coconut oil and a higher quality product that's going to do something for you, improve your health, then I think you got things backwards a little bit. And a lot of us do, unfortunately, in the United States and across the world, I think. But I do hope, with companies like yours coming out and really putting that effort into being transparent, showing people why it's worth it, that they will come around and say, my dollars are being spent wisely here. I'm not getting a bunch of crap that's actually making me sick for very cheap, but probably you're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on medical treatments, because that's leading you into a degenerative and disease state.
100%. You're going to pay for it now or pay for it later. So, and
That's
that's
it.
the thing. I think that health and wellness, and I think we've learned that this year. I think everybody is
Yeah,
kind of taking a step back and figuring that out a little bit. When you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
nothing.
And I think our products and, you know, being able to protect ourselves, again, I always go back to those medium chain fatty acids in this coconut oil and how real and pure they are, and how much they can protect, how much they can boost your immune, how much they can boost your metabolism. It's real from a cellular level. This is science. This is not marketing. And I think that's why I just appreciate you so much, because, you know, you get it. You get it. You know, your cells, you're just a sack of cells. Your body's basically a sack of cells. So how are you going to treat those cells? Because that they're going to be what supports you as you age, and whatever you do is what you're gonna, there's cause and effect. And so that's where just upgrading and getting products that can actually heal, protect, help your immune, you know, and even again, there's so much skin. I keep coming back to that because every phone call I get from somebody that needs help, they have a granddaughter that has, you know, eczema, or everybody's got all these skin issues. And I think now, you know, we've worn masks for so long, and that is not detoxifying. I think we just need to realize that we are going to have some skin issues, and that this is a really good way to go. And you know what, you know, if you have to put a mask on, you know, I just put a little coconut oil in, or I put a little body butter in there. We have some rollers that essential oil rollers that sometimes I'll put in that have a little grapeseed oil and apricot oil and coconut oil. And I just put, if I'm going to put a mask on, I make sure that I've got something in there that where I am benefiting myself for having that thing on.
That's a really good tip because people don't realize, and we're reusing these masks as they
Oh,
shouldn't be. Never. I mean, you look at
yeah.
a surgical mask is supposed to be worn during surgery and thrown out of me. And they even, my father said, sometimes change it throughout. If they're sweating or breathing too much, they won't wear that very long because it's just a petri dish, basically. And
Yes.
you're rebreathing that. The body is meant to exhale and get things out. There's an exchange of gases, but a lot of detox coming out of that way. So,
Well,
you know,
it's like sweating, and we're holding that in, and we're
yeah.
putting these masks on our kids, and we're just, and every phone call I get from somebody is talking about a child that has skin problems right now. And I'm
Mhm.
like, it's just, they're not, you know, you put that mask on these kids, and then you think they're going to, and they're playing sports in it. They're running and playing sports in
Yep.
this mask. So at least protect them, put something in there where it's going to be antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial. You know, we don't know what we're doing there. I don't think. I think again, the science. We talk about science and just perception. So those are two different things. And so
Yeah.
I just think that that's another use right now that I just, you know, just having this platform and able to mention. Just protect yourself. Think about your kids and think about what that's doing. And I mean, you know, they have a mask and they're just putting it back on and you know, all the time, the same one. It's on the floor, the dogs chewed on it, it's on the ground, they put it back on, and you know, off they go.
And it's natural too. There's no harm in it. You could breathe that in. Nothing's wrong with that. Listen, I've heard patients asking if they could spray them with Lysol and put them back on. It's like, don't, please don't. You're going to end up ruining your lungs and in the ER anyway. You know, so don't spray that. Like, you're not meant to inhale Lysol or anything like that. And it's always best to go with natural, like you said, antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. So all of these things are within the natural realm of coconut oil, which is amazing. So I really like that tip. Now, Dr. Joy, what is next for Skinny Coconut? Because you've done so much. It started with a trip to Vietnam that turned into just coconut oil, that turned into oil pulling, beauty products, all these other things. That's wonderful. But what do you have next up your sleeves?
Well, right now we have our brilliant team working on a 5-step beauty process. Now, after I told you that all I use is this, they are going to step further with serums and all natural. Everything is following our ethos of fiberless ingredients. You can eat everything we make. However, they are taking it a step further, and so they're using very high quality vitamins and very high quality essential oils, very high quality. They're mixing other oils with our coconut oil. We're finding, you know, again, my son is just the sourcing, I just can't believe the people in the sourcing he's able to do after living overseas for so long. And, he found an apricot oil that's made with the Tibet monks, and, their hand doing it with a Peshla and a mortal. And so they're bringing that into the products. And then there's, so it's just kind of evolving, and they're working on this five-step beauty process that we will definitely get into your hands as soon as we have that developed. And they're developing it right now. And it was cute because they send me different pieces, and it's fun. I'm having fun with it. They're letting me kind of experiment with it, and I like what I'm seeing. It's gonna be super, a really fun direction. And I think some different companies like Bloomingdale's and some of those bigger companies are all looking for something natural like this. And so anyway, we're having a little help there, and I think it's going to be a fun thing.
That sounds really cool and interesting, and I'm sure our anti-aging division here at the clinic will love that. They're always looking for new. They already love and appreciate skinny coconut, so anything new in that realm. And I think that is where anti-aging and beauty is going to truly natural. Not just the idea of organic, and all these big companies are going in and saying it's organic, and then you really learn there's tons of chemicals in it. Sure, you took some low quality essential oil and threw it in there. That doesn't make it really organic, and it doesn't really make it good either. And again, one of the things you have to realize too is you may see some results happening, but at what cost? I always say this, it's not just about the results you see, it's about your long-term health. Because if you're just looking for results, guess what the greatest diet plan is? Hard drugs, crystal meth, right? That's not good for you. You'll lose a lot of weight, and you'll look in the mirror and say, my God, I could see my ribs now. But
Yeah.
you'll also be losing your teeth and your health at the same time. So we have to weigh it differently here. And real organic and natural way of beauty and anti-aging, you're going to see results, but you're also going to improve on the inside at the same time and not be a toxic burden, which a lot of these companies are. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Casper, you just stole my thunder. That is exactly that is my passion.
yeah.
Think about it. Take a step back. Why does somebody in Vietnam, sometimes, we'll be in Vietnam and I can't tell if it's the mother, the grandmother, the great grandmother. I mean, they don't age, and they are eating coconut oil. They're putting it on the handmade that they're making themselves. And we've got the closest thing to hand. That's what we've got. We've got handmade coconut oil with that patent that preserves it for years. And it's just, there's nothing like it. I don't think there's anything like it out there. And again, your dad was the one who said, I've never seen anything like this. And,
Yeah.
I mean, he was the one that confirmed it to me that, wow, this stuff tests, it's real.
Listen, most medical centers don't normally carry coconut oil as part of their like regimen. Or listen, our dispensary is all sort of medicines and very high pharmaceutical grade stuff. And we have skinny coconut in there too. And it's been there for over a decade. So it's
Yes.
not like we've gone away from it because we didn't feel it was effective in medical treatment. To the
Yes.
contrary, we use it more.
Yeah.
So, you see this, and it's really a testament of what you created, and the whole family is creative. So where can people learn more about Skinny, yourself, everything else?
You know what? We do have a website. You can go to our new products are under the Skinny. We want to be the thought leader in chemical free. So you can go to the Skinny, and it's skinnyandcompany.com. Skinny coconut oil. You can get us, many different ways. I think my computer goes to it. So I guess I'm not exactly sure what I should be typing in, but Skinny and Company, the Skinny. And that's where we've really, we've gone from Skinny and Company in food to the Skinny in beauty, because we are the Skinny. We want to be the information thought leader in that chemical free movement. And so we want to give you the Skinny on it. And so I thought that was kind of a fun, the guys kind of changed it up a little bit. I really like it. And so there's a lot of information on our website about our products, about how to use them, testimonials. And, and I think obviously I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to be able to share what we've got. I think this time, especially, people are looking for something different. They're looking for how do we upgrade our lives so that this doesn't happen again, and we're not at jeopardy of being sick and at jeopardy. And I think coconut oil, I take Skinny in the morning. I'm putting it all over my body. I'm oil pulling. I don't really fear being sick. I don't fear getting sick. So,
And,
and I,
and it's not one of those things that too much is a bad thing. It's natural, right? I mean, too much, you're just not going to use it anymore. And it's just a little overkill. And maybe you're wasting some of that skin, but nothing bad will come out of it. That's the beauty of nature. You take too many pills. Yeah, that's something bad, right? A pharmaceutical drug, and you'll be in the hospital. And that's some concern there if you do even a little bit more. But with nature, that's the beauty of nature. It's self-regulating, it's helping you self-heal.
That's exact. It's self-regulating, and even for kids to, get it on their toast in the morning instead of butter. Just upgrade those little things. Think about that. Put it on their toast. Put it in their eggs. Put it in their oatmeal. It's just get that in their brains for the day. And have you ever heard of Steve's clock test? Do you know what that is? Have you heard
No.
of that? Okay, so there was a doctor years and years ago.
Mhm.
His husband was pretty severe Alzheimer's, and I think you can get it. I think you can look it up online. It's called Steve's clock test. And so what she did was she gave him 2 tablespoons of coconut oil a day. And so she, at the beginning of the 2 weeks, she had him draw a clock, and he couldn't put the numbers on. He couldn't draw the clock. It looked like an egg, he just couldn't get it. And then she just gave him 2 tablespoons as a kind of a medicinal dose throughout these 2 weeks. And then you see at the end of the time, and I don't know how long she went, but I know that she went, it wasn't just a day or two. She went for a couple of weeks or maybe even a month. He could actually draw the clock, he could put the numbers on it, and that was the only thing she added to his regiment. So that there is that ability to really help the brain, and especially for kids to just have, if they have a test coming up, to be able to get some in their oatmeal in the morning before that test. You just know it's going to be very helpful to them in so many ways throughout their day.
Yeah, the brain loves those essential fatty acids and different acids like that. So it's a wonderful nootropic, you could almost say. You could add it to your stack, and children, of course, will love that, as they are sponges to anything new, and that's the wonderful part of it. And I'm going to plug you also because you're on Instagram. I love it. It's the Skinny and Co.
Yep.
On Instagram, which I follow a lot, and I love everything you're doing. Dr. Joy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, because it's been really, I'd say, inspirational, and I hope it gives people insight into the power of not just coconut oil, but also building a company on the right principles and morals, and really putting quality first. So
Well,
congrats on that.
I enjoyed sharing this time with you. Thank you for inviting us. I feel very honored that you included me in your show.
Of course.
Thanks.
Thanks.